Alright, so we are going to look at conditional statements today. Let me just run this to begin with. So if we click the green flag, they all pop up with something, and then the cat in the bottom right starts to, it's always saying this no mice around here. What we'll see is if we start to mouse over, put the mouse on top of the sprites, different things happen. So this one has a reaction, and this one has a reaction as well. The one over here in the top doesn't, but we can see if we can do this quick enough. If we put it over to begin with, it does say something like having a mouse, but it doesn't happen again. And so this one will happen, this one will happen, this one will happen, and happen, and happen. And so if we look inside this, we'll see kind of the structure that's going on here. So let's look at the one with no loop. We have the ability here to have a condition. So if touching the mouse pointer, then it will say, a mouse. However, that only happens one time, so it happens almost immediately. So we have this 2-second window. It's going to say, I don't have a forever loop. And if we don't touch it when that's done within 2 seconds, it's not going to work. And so you can see it's over there, and then it catches it that first time, but it won't do it again because it's not always asking that question. If we look at the one in the bottom left, this one has a forever loop. It's always asking the question, am I touching the mouse? Until you can see the difference in that it will always register that touch. So we want to loop these things with our conditions so that they're always asking it. And then the one over here in the bottom right, it's very similar. It has a forever loop, except the difference with it is it has an else statement. So if it's touching the mouse, it'll say, a mouse. If there's nothing, if it's not, then it says there's no mice around here. So it's always going to be saying something because this if else structure will take care of everything that we have. So let's look at the next one. So let's look at what's called a nested conditional. And this one is a little bit complicated. We can see kind of what's happening here. First off, this asks for a name. It's going to ask for some data from the user. So let's say it's Max. All right, and then we hit OK, and it asks for our favorite food, and we'll say pizza. And we can see that the little butterfly says that it loves pizza as well. Let's try something a little bit different. Let's say Bob, and then it asks for a number, and let's say we give it the number 3, and it says, hi little Bob, your number is 3. Let's give it another name like Adam, and let's give it a number like 6, and it says, why don't you like the number 3? If I give it another name, let's say Trish, we're back to the food thing, and so for food, let's say that we like fish, and it says we don't like pizza. So there's stuff going on there. It's interacting with the user. Let's take a look inside and see what's going on here, and this is an example of our nested conditionals. So it looks complicated. There's some complexity to this, but let's see what's happening here. So when the sprite is clicked, it asks what's your name, and it waits. So that's this piece right here. So it's asking, and it's going to have this answer, and what it's going to do is it's going to set answer to this thing name. So if I have a variable name and I show it, it's still Trish from last time. Let's say I make it Carl. You can see that it changed to Carl, and then it's going to ask for a number. So let's see what happened here. I have the name, and I asked for letter 1 of name, if that's less than M. So C would be for Carl, which is less than M, and so then it's going to ask for a number, and it's going to wait. So I'm going to give it a number of 2. Oops, I'm going to give it a number of 2, and hit enter. All right, and so it sets the number to my answer, and then it says if it's equal to 3, then it says that your number is 3. If it doesn't, it says, hello name, why don't you like the number 3? So that's all it's doing. Let's try it with another one. Let's give it, again, let's go back to Trish. And we can see that butterfly name has been set to Trish. Trish T is not less than M, so it's asking what's your favorite food. And so it's going to set food to answer. If the food is pizza, it's going to say I love pizza too. If it's not, it's going to say why don't you love pizza? So let's just put in pizza. And we'll see that we have that it loves pizza as well. Okay? So these are called nested conditionals. We have a condition within a condition, and that's totally fine to do. You don't want to go much beyond kind of 2 nested conditionals. It gets too hard to track things. But this is a way that conditionals can interact with the user and make things seem more intelligent than they are. So let's look at our last one, which is a compound conditional. So this is hard to read right here, but this says if mouse x is less than 0 and mouse y and not mouse y greater than 0 or touching the mouse pointer, then do something. That's what this looks at. So we're trying to figure out how to make this work. There's something that's going to happen. So first off, I want to, if the mouse x is less than 0, so here's like the origin, this is greater than 0, then this is less than 0. And not mouse y greater than 0. So another way to say that is mouse y is less than 0. So if I come down here, there we go. My mouse, both these conditions are met. That I have this piece and this piece are met, which makes it true. Now I have an OR statement in here, which means touching the mouse pointer. So here I am touching the mouse pointer. I'm in the right quadrant, right? My x value and my y value are both negative, but I'm touching the mouse pointer. So this is true, right? A false or a true becomes true, not true becomes false, true and false is false, so it doesn't work. So you can get really complicated pretty quickly on these compound conditionals. Let's just look inside real quick and see what's happening. But this is the boys piece. You can see there's that condition that we had, and it's only going to work, again, when you have all of this met. So this has to be true, and somehow this has to be true, and you make this true by either this being false or this being false, because then this will become false and then will become true. So that's that in this piece over here. Alright, that's it for now. We'll keep looking at conditionals and variables down the road.